Welcome to the Black Girl Burnout Podcast. Kelly here, and I hope you are continuing to enjoy your summer. Here is an interview that I recently did with Jayden Aubren. Jayden Aubren is the founder of Ties Consulting and Therapy and co-founder of Chaotic Healing. Their work centers on helping people heal complex trauma by recognizing that our minds, bodies, relationships, and spirituality and lived experiences are all connected. What I appreciate about Jayden's approach is their commitment to making healing more accessible, making it more embodied, and yes, even more joyful. They invite us to think beyond traditional therapy by incorporating movement and food and music and art and other practices that help people reconnect with themselves in ways that feel authentic and life giving. Today, we are exploring what it means to reclaim healing on your own terms, challenge the stories we've inherited about wellness, and create space for softness without losing ourselves. If you've ever wondered whether there was another way to heal, one that honors your whole humanity, then this conversation is for you. We had so much fun. Let's get into it. Hi, Jayden. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Oh, well, super stoked to be here. Thanks for having me. And feeling really good. I was just out at the park in Valencia, Spain. So sunny and warm and lovely.
I know you're living your best life living in Spain, and
Yes.
meanwhile, it's here in DC where I am. It's raining and slightly miserable. So please send some of that sunshine over to me.
Oh, yes. Mediterranean sun in abundance. I will will it over to you.
Yes, I receive it. I take it. I take it. Bring some sun. So I'm excited for you to be on the podcast because we've had some conversations off camera about the kind of work you do and the kind of way you move in the world that I think more of us need, especially now. We're getting into summer and there's so much focus on summer body, summer living, all this stuff. Like people seem motivated on the plus side, people seem motivated for like healing and all the things. And so I would like to know from your perspective, you know, what tell us a little bit what you do. Let's start with that. And then talk about like what this term, we know we talk a lot about soft life, what that means to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my main thing is that I'm a therapist. I specialize in trauma and integrative health. And yeah, so I do therapy. I actually run a group practice. I have a couple of employees. I'm also a personal trainer and I do trauma informed weightlifting and personal training, consulting, therapist retreats, holistic health coaching. I do a lot of things. I have ADHD, so, we're all over the place. But despite all of that, I'm very committed to a soft life. And for me, that really means honoring my capacity and the speed that I can move at any given moment. And I will shift my entire life to, acknowledge where I am at my capacity. Like as I got older, I realized the hustle culture of Seattle, what I needed to do to live the life I wanted to live in Seattle, Washington is very expensive. It was just not for me. It was great in my 20s, but I'm getting old. I'm tired, right? So I moved to Spain, which is a very privileged thing to be able to do. And I'm glad I was able to do that and really slow down. But yeah, even as we come into the summer, right? You have more energy. You want to do more things. And I'm like, okay, this is my time to do more things. And then in the winter, when the body wants to slow down, that's my time to do less things and just really honoring what my body is trying to tell me at any point in time.
I love that. And I love that being like the anchor point for soft life is like letting your body lead, really to determine where you are and how things go because so many of us are dealing with like we want soft life but we don't know how to do that, and I feel like just saying letting your body lead is a perfect way to start with that and a thoughtful way to go about it. So I want to just step back a little bit because you said trauma informed weightlifting. Like I'm not trying to give you like a surprise question here, but you said that and I was like intrigued
Yes.
about that. What is that?
Yeah. So, A lot of times when people think about weightlifting and gym bros, it's like, and like personal trainers, it's very drill sergeant. It's no pain, no gain. You have to just push your limits all of the time. And, from a trauma informed perspective, that's just often not helpful because you're not in relationship to your body. You're not listening to your body. And you're not honoring what the needs are. And there's so many ways to work towards your goals and still achieve like your fitness goals and health goals without risking injury or without harming your nervous system or dishonoring your body cues. And so, trauma informed weightlifting, there's a lot of different components to it, but I really think, in a nutshell, is about learning how to meet people where they're at and meet your body where it's at on any given day. So, again, I work a lot with integrative health. So, a lot of my personal training clients have POTS or autoimmune disorders or hypermobility, these things where at any given point, they're like, I don't know if I can move or moving is not feeling really great for me in this moment. It's like, okay, well, how can we meet you there and still work towards your goals and still get you moving in a way that feels good to your body? And I think it's more fun because it's a lot about like embodying life. So sometimes you just need to shake stuff off, or sometimes you need to pick up a heavy thing and then set it down just to remember that you can set down heavy things. So there's a lot of embodied metaphors and trauma from weightlifting there too. So it's really great.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm hearing that. I'm like, "Oh, I never even thought about it when I was really into weightlifting that it was something there's like a metaphor to explore there, right? Of putting down heavy things, of that you can actually do that, that physical act of that, of taking them on and meeting the moment, right? And being able the challenge and being able I couldn't believe I can lift that much, but also the choice to put it down or the choice to drop to a lower rate weight, a lower weight, and how there is a story there to unpack if you have a therapeutic background. So that is really cool and thoughtful. Like I that just got me excited because I thought, "Oh yeah, I never thought of that."
Yeah, so really quick nerd moment here. So there's all of this really great research to show that, physical mobility and resilience um, correlates to higher emotional and mental flexibility and resilience. Physical strength correlates to emotional strength. The ability to balance, to physically balance, improves our ability to balance in life. Like these correlations, we think, oh, that's some woo stuff, but like really, it's just one body, and we're just choosing how we train it. So we can choose to train something like, distress tolerance through like, emotional stress, sure. Or we can train distress tolerance through running. That's my distress tolerance. I hate like steady state cardio. Or for some people, it's lifting heavy things, right? That's a lot of distress for their body. How do you actually tolerate or being in a plank? Who wants to be in a plank, right? That's tolerating
Nobody.
distress.
Nobody.
Yeah, so great research there. And I think that for people who are already interested in building a relationship with their body, in trauma-informed weightlifting, like, they have a worldwide directory of people who have been certified, as trauma-informed weightlifters, so see if there's one in your area and go for it because it's great stuff.
Well, this is the best plug I've ever heard for trauma-informed weightlifting. I didn't even know what that was until 2 seconds ago, so let's start there. And 1, I'm already like, let me Google in the DMV what is available because I think that is beautiful. And I think it touches on something you started to talk about, that a lot of the people you work with have autoimmune diseases and have, like, maybe complicated physical pictures, right? Or have maybe emotional because you do integrative therapy. Maybe they have a trauma history, and for some folks, the gym is a traumatic experience, right?
Mhm.
For women particularly and female identified folks, the gym is not always a safe place either, right? Like people get hit on or they get unfairly objectified or whatever. And so there is that's in one court over here, right? All of that going on. And then there's like what we get bombarded with messaging about what our body should look like, what we should be doing, what, insane 55-step routine to get this perfect body. And I think since we're going on this metaphor, we're starting with the physical body, but we're really talking about more. Like, how do you work, like maybe through the body and beyond, with people who are always trying to do things perfectly? And then the effort to do things perfectly means they don't do anything to feel better as a result when you can't get there.
Yeah, so this idea of perfection, I just kinda have a very low tolerance around it. As soon as someone starts coming at me about being perfect, I'm just gonna tell them about themselves in that moment. We're not doing that, no. And I feel like most people, like, have some insight that there is no such thing as perfection. But we need to move past that insight and do something with it, right? So I don't wanna spend time talking about what is perfect. I wanna spend time talking about what are your goals? And why are they your goals and how are they related to your values? And then what does it look like to work on those goals? And I actually use a lot of fitness analogies for this because, say someone wants to come and bench 315, right? Do a little chest press at 315 pounds. You don't just come to the gym and then attempt 315 and then be like, "Oh, well, I couldn't do it, so I guess I can't do it." Like, you start with just the bar, you know? Maybe you don't even start with that. Maybe you need even lower weights. Maybe you're just working with, like, 2-pound dumbbells. You really don't know, but you can't get anywhere if you don't start the journey. Until we, like, invent teleportation, both physically and emotionally, you can't get anywhere until you start a journey. So I'm more interested in figuring out what the start of the journey actually is. How do you incorporate that into your life in various ways? A little bit of cross training, so to speak. And then holding them accountable to those goals. I think that's the big piece, right? People are not interested in, so to speak, lifting their 2-pound dumbbells. But I'm still gonna check in next week and the week after that to make sure they're doing it because it's not about the 2-pound dumbbells. It's about getting to that 315, which is their goal. So just really grounding and centering on that.
And that makes sense. It's starting with something realistic, one, and just well, one, even before that, it's just starting. Then it's making sure your goal is realistic when you're doing it, and I think that is really powerful and important. And especially the reason why I bring this up is because slightly we're gonna shift into more of the emotional piece of it all, but it's all emotional, actually. You've already made the case for that. But when we look at the world around us today, right? Like, people are going through it. Things are not easy, people have multiple stressors, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lack of being realistic, right? It's like everybody wants to do the 315 pound, well, not me, because I know that's not even in the range of possibility for me, but, like, people wanna do the big goal, right? But not acknowledging the chaos all around them or in their lives, and so how can people really be honest in general about what they have the ability to do that? Maybe 315 was never the starting point. Like, let's be honest and be like, 180 would be a win for me, right? Because I have maybe an autoimmune disease in a physical world, or I have a lot of stress. Like, my job is, killing me right now. So this is not maybe the time to start that. So how can people be honest about what they really can take on and what they have the energy for without feeling guilty about it?
Well, I don't know if it's always about not feeling guilty. I don't think we need to be afraid of feeling guilty. I think we need to learn how to manage those feelings of guilt. Because every time we have to wait until we're not feeling guilty about something, we're still not starting, right? So part of it is creating a plan, having a logical anchor to understand why this is the plan, accountability, rewards, all these things that just make like, goal setting realistic and possible. And then learning how to manage the emotions along the way. Some days you're going to feel guilty. Some days you're going to feel super excited and you're going to want to do more. And it's like, no, you got to put the brakes on so you don't burn yourself out. Some days you're going to feel just so sad or a lot of shame or anger that you're not progressing as fast. That's okay. You're allowed to feel those feelings. Let's welcome them. That's part of the embodied experience. And if you aren't afraid of those feelings, right, then they don't rule your life and they don't actually end up changing the plan.
That's so important. And also too, I think another question, you started to answer this kind of already, but the other question of what does it feel like when people come in and wanna do like a complete 180 on their life in chaos, right? Like, there's so many times that we have these certain, like, external cues, new year, new me, summer body, like, these are the kinds of like, messaging that specifically people get, but I would say like women get a lot more disproportionately, right? Of these kinds of cues. And so you have people who come in, it's like, what's going on in your life? Oh, I'm between houses. I don't know if I'm going to get laid off. All these things. I'm a new parent. And then it's like, but I also want to have this amazing physical transformation in 6 weeks. And so it's like, how do you help balance that and what talk about what happens when we try to do these radical changes to our physical body when we have a lot of emotional and mental stress in the background?
Yeah. So I think this is where a bit of psychoeducation is super important. So we like to break things down into various categories for us to like understand and conceptualize a bit better. But again, we have one fat sac. And our body processes stress as stress, simply put, right? So it doesn't matter if it's physical, emotional, relational, it's all stress to the body. So a lot of times when clients are saying, "Oh, I want to do these big goals," I actually have them list out what is everything that gets you stressed or excited, right? Because excitement also kind of activates those same stress systems, right? Even to get out of bed requires cortisol, right? Your body is waking up is excitement. So I'll have them list all of the things that cause more stress or excitement in their body on an average day. And then I'll have them list all of the things that reduce the stress and the excitement in an average day. And usually, once we go through that exercise, they realize that they have way more stress than stress relief. So then I'm not going to advocate from a health perspective that we add more stress onto your body, right? Because we know when we just add on more stress, we're going to crash out, we're going to have injury, we're going to have illness. So a lot of this is, learning how to reduce stress. And if someone wants to be doing movement-based things, we can talk about movement techniques to reduce stress. We're going to talk about food and nourishing your body. We're going to talk about sleep. We're going to talk about breath, right? These are some of those things that are all within our control and that we're engaging with on a regular basis anyways. But we have to start there, right? And then it's like, but I want, okay, well, you can want all you want. That's a super valid feeling, but that I'm not going to advocate for something that's unhealthy as a health provider. So how do we work with this? Like, how do we work on this together to actually help you meet your goals?
I'm cracking up. Like, you can want what you want. It doesn't mean it's gonna happen. I think that's important though, and I don't think we're talking about that enough. And I think, as people are listening to this, I hope you are making like a little note of that. That I have never thought about listing my stressors before I pick a workout plan or pick something going in and be like, oh wow, the page is filled with stressors. Not so many things that, like, might excite me or not excite me, but make me feel calm or regulate me or make me feel cozy, whatever words you wanna use to indicate where your body is. And so it's like, if you have a ton of stressors, maybe it's not lifting 50 pounds, maybe it's 2, and maybe it's changing the program and not doing, like, summer hot body 6 weeks programming and more like, gentle yoga to build a measure of strength, right, that will help, that has some breath work in it. That even just that level of intention is game changing, and the thing is too, and I don't wanna speak 'cause this isn't my expertise, but I would imagine you'll have better results even if it's not the hardcore, 6 weeks to the perfect body kinda thing. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. People think they have to do so much to get results, but unless you are like professional athlete like level of something, like you probably don't have to work that hard to get the results that you want. Well, okay. I will say when it comes to moving your body the way that you want. When it comes to body composition changes, so like gaining muscle, losing weight, that has a lot of factors, so that can be a bit harder. But let's say you want to feel more confident dropping it low at the club. You want to be able to swim longer at the beach. You want to be able to walk around without your feet hurting at the summer festivals. Like those types of things are actually pretty easy to work on. But if you have pain and tension, that anyone who's gone to physical therapy, y'all know they give you the most basic exercises you're moving like 2 inches, like range of motion, and then in a week, you're like, "Wow, I feel so much better." Less really is more, and I think that a lot of this is just being intentional about the exercises that we're doing and how we're relating to our body, actually allowing the time to rest because adaptation happens in rest, right? You go to the gym, you lift, your muscles are working, they're not adapting, they're muscling. You're actually shredding your muscle fibers. They get bigger, they get stronger, they get more resilient when you rest. So, I really like to give that education so that people understand. I'm not just saying, oh, rest because it's good for you. Like everyone knows that, but this is why it's good for you. This is where the adaptation is going to happen. And if I'm not seeing adaptations, maybe we actually need to rest a little bit more.
And you're really making the case for slow healing, like being able to heal slowly. And what's interesting about it is, and I want you to talk more about this, is like as you're talking about it, you're saying things like rest. You're talking about less, not more, smaller movements. You're absolutely right. If you do physical therapy, and those movements are no joke too. They'll do like move your wrist 2 inches, and you're like, this is the hardest thing I have done this year, right? And but it goes to show you that it is those micro moments, those micro movements that make a case for changing your body. And also, like, the secondary effect or benefit is you do start to maybe look different. You posture is better. You carry yourself better. So you therefore carrying your body in a different way that is more maybe appealing to you, that makes you feel good. And so we talk about healing slow, what does that look like instead of what people normally are encouraged to do, right? Which is like these huge programs and even not even just in body, right? We're staying in the body, but we're really talking about everything else, right? That everybody wants to heal fast, get over trauma yesterday, right? Like do these 3 exercises and your trauma will be better. Move your hips to release trauma. Like
Mhm.
that's the latest thing that's really popular. And I'm not knocking it. There is benefits to that. There's science behind that. But this belief of like, rushing that there's like a 2-week program that you could do really hard and fast that will give you those results. What is the case for taking it slow and really investing in slow healing?
Yeah, when I think of slow healing, I really think of intentional living, right? Um, and because healing, I don't know, healing is so short term. Um, there's usually like a thing that we are trying to heal, but then what is the end point? Like I tore my rotator cuff in the fall. And so technically it's healed because it's not torn anymore. And my range of motion is mostly back, but it's not as strong as it used to be by any means. So is it healed? I don't know. Like, sure, I guess from a definition. But when I think about my lifestyle, I have a lifestyle uh, of me being intentional about doing regular maintenance for my shoulder to make sure I'm strengthening it and keeping it mobile and all of these things. Um, People don't like to move slow, right? There's a lot of reasons for that, and I would say a lot of it is like an activated nervous system, because whose nervous system is not activated in the year 2026? I'm saying. Um,
Seriously.
yeah, I was talking to a client the other day, and I likened it to, like those walking conveyor belts in airports. Is like we're just constantly on those, and then we forget what it feels like to actually just walk on solid ground. So I think that slow healing, that intentional living is about getting off of that conveyor belt, being able to be still for a moment and be intentional about what you are doing. It's not just about doing the quickest thing, it's about creating a life that you want, right? Why do you actually want to lose weight? Why do you actually want to change your body? Is it just to check it off, or is there a type of life you want with that body, right? Because that's more encompassing. And I think when we can look at it more holistic, the slow versus fast healing becomes less relevant. And it becomes more about that embodiment and intentionality.
Yeah, that's really what it's about. Staying connected to your body is where the healing starts, right? Once you get into your body, which is why, people talk about like doing hip releases helps with trauma. Why? It's the whole purpose is so you can get back into your body, right? And find places where you might not be regulated or be activated. And I think that's really important. And so, how do we then? You've kind of talked about this a little bit. How do you stay connected to your body in a world where there's so much pressure to be disconnected, both emotionally and physically?
Yeah, you gotta find what works for you and what, connects you to your body, and I think this is where social media really is just not helpful because you do see, "Oh, just do these, yoga or these hip releases, and you're gonna release trauma. You're gonna lose your cortisol belly, and then, have some creatine, and, like, you're now you don't need your ADHD meds anymore, like, everything's great." It's like, these might be pieces of the puzzle, right? But I think it's still this quick fix energy. Um, okay, I was about to go on a whole tangent. Can you repeat the question?
No, I was excited. I was excited where this was going. I'm like, "Wait a minute. I'm taking my creatine. What's gonna happen, Jaden? You're telling me it's not gonna give me the summer body of my dreams? I thought it would." So I'm a little disappointed. But just the pressure to kinda stay there's 2 things happening once. You're saying the message, which I 100% agree with, which is staying connected to your body, being embodied, taking things in micro baby steps, right, to get
Mhm.
to the bigger goals. And yet on the other side, we have, like, take creatine, which again, I'm about to be sad.
Okay, no,
Take
no, keep
creatine
taking
and
your creatine.
okay, okay, okay.
Sure. But don't think that it's gonna fix you, you know? Don't think Happy Baby's going to fix you. Um, I think it's more about creating a healing lifestyle. I actually have this, holistic life audit that I will do, and I kinda go through all these different domains of your life and look at your overall goals, and let's how do we, um slowly start to change many components of your life. So no, just doing Happy Baby is not going to release all of your trauma, but doing Happy Baby plus maybe taking a dance class plus doing some breath work while you're on the toilet. And toilet time is a great time to just practice your coping skills because you're alone. Plus having like a regular journaling practice, whatever feels connective to you, these are the things that will create a healing lifestyle, that will create a connected lifestyle. And, the same things aren't connected for everyone. Like, I love dance. I'm a dancer. I've been dancing my whole life. Some people, they will just dissociate if they start trying to dance, which is like so sad, in my opinion, because like dance is so great. But like, that's where they are in their journey, right? So telling them to dance more is not helpful. Telling someone to play more music if they're really anxious or if still struggling with perfectionism and that's gonna make them dissociate, like, that's not helpful, so it's really what makes you feel connected to your body, and how can you implement those things in as many ways as possible throughout your day, like, this might be, you know, having a glass of water in between every 3 or 4 bites, like or having a sip of water in between every 3 or 4 bites when you're eating, so you feel more connected to the taste of the food, right? Like having that palate like a palate cleanser, so you can be more connected as you eat. That's a small change that you can do to feel connected to your body, and I think it's those small changes that really add up, and why I really am, like, side-eyeing all these quick fixes, because then people just stop at the quick fixes, and they stop looking at their whole life, and their relationship to whatever coping skills they're trying to use.
Yeah, you just gave a list of healthy habits, which is like I was gonna ask. So I'm gonna list some of them back and see if there's any you wanna add to the list because I think that is really important to say. It's like, one, if we're advocating for slower healing and not rushing to get things done, if we're advocating for people to stay connected to their bodies, then there has to be a series of habits that you build in order to get there. And so you talked about, which I've never thought about this before, but like breath work during toilet time. You're right. You're by yourself. You might as well give it a shot. It might actually improve your digestion. You talked about sips of water between, your meals to really kind of savor what you're eating and to take pauses. You talked about, like, small things that might bring you joy, and personalizing it. For some people, it is dance. For some people, it's something totally different. It's laying in, child's pose or whatever, right? or Shavasana. There is all these different little things. I'm trying to remember some of the other habits because you gave us quite a bit to choose from. And I just want to know, like, what are some of these healthy habits that people can kind of write down and then go through, like, pick ones that are more suited to them? Because, like you said, there is no one size fits all. It's like, well, there's just guidelines, right? Like, move your body, right? You can't say everyone needs to move their body this one way and only this one way, right? Or eat this one kind of diet or whatever. So for you, what are some of those healthy habits?
Okay. I will answer for me, but I also want to answer more generally speaking, because it's so different for everyone. What I would recommend if you're thinking about this for yourself, think about it in the domains. So I would say start with sleeping, eating, breath, and movement. Start with those four domains and find one way that you can practice it in a bit more connective experience throughout your day or throughout your week. So if I take those four things and I apply them to myself, um, in the morning, I have a balcony. I get up, I go and I journal, and then I do 5 minutes of breath work on my balcony, and it's really grounding, and no one talks to me, which I love. Um, and also after I work out, I like to do some like progressive exhales to help calm my nervous system down. So like maybe like a in for 4, out for 4, and then in for 4, out for 5, right? And I just might do like 5 to 10 breaths, nothing super big. For movement, because I mostly work online right now, so I'm more sedentary than I like to be. I do 5 minutes of movement every time that I use the bathroom. So sometimes it's just me like, I put a timer on and I might do some butt kicks or some high knees or something like that. Or maybe I'm dancing for 5 minutes, but getting some movement in. I also I like to try and do a yogic squat like once a day, because there's just a lot of benefits to having mobile hips. Um, for food, I'm working on it right now, but not watching TV when I eat. Actually sitting at the dinner table and like talking with my partner and then watching TV afterwards if we so choose. And then sleep. I am a big fan of sleep in general. Like, even through grad school, I never pulled an all-nighter. I am like, "I'm gonna go to sleep." So, I feel like I'm a little biased with this one, but, 'cause I know a lot of other people have more issues with sleep, but having a little bit of a routine, before your bed can be really good. So, even if that's just, like, brushing your teeth, putting some lotion on, and making sure all the lights are off, and then getting into bed. As long as it's the same, like, 3 small things that you do, having a little routine can be really helpful to improve your sleep.
So I hope you all did 2 things. One, like, catalog the domains, and one, maybe even out of the healthy habits that you recommended, there might be one that was, resonated that you wanna try, and it's, again, pick one. Don't do all of them at once because that
And
gets
then
in the way of what we were just talking about this whole entire time. Pick one that you think could be you could do it and you feel kind of excited or energized or intrigued like, "Oh, maybe I'll try this week, like, for all my dinners, I won't have them in front of the television. I will either have them sitting down if you're unpartnered, like, just, maybe it's a time to read a book you enjoy or something, or but something that's slow and mindful, or even just, like, sit and think and enjoy your meal," right? Or have a conversation with a friend, call a friend, and then it's like we're communicating about our day, right? Pick one thing and try that. And that one thing, though, builds into everything else. And it's like we're not worried about having summer bodies. We're worrying about having the best bodies we can have, right? And that step is connected to having the best body. And there's no like time limit on that, right? We don't want to just make it for the fall, then fall, I mean, the summer and then fall off in the fall. We want to have habits that make our lives better. So, anything to add before I ask you my last question about joy, Jaden? Is there anything we missed or anything you really want to get out about really this holistic, integrative approach to health?
yeah, I think that, 1, if you need help with this is like my holistic life audit in a nutshell, where it's like, "Okay, here's the thing, we're gonna do it for 2 to 3 weeks, and here's the next thing," and it can either be 3, 6, or 9 months. So, like, it's hard to do this on your own. So having some accountability and someone to help make a plan is really important. But, I really think the main thing I want to communicate that is a huge shift in thinking, right? When we are taught, especially if like you grew up in the West, in the Western world, you know, um, here's a problem, here's the solution. You have this pain, take this medicine. You don't like this thing, do this other thing, right? It's like a very one to one. And that's not how ecosystems work. And our body is an ecosystem and our body lives in an ecosystem. And so starting to think of it as more of a system, right? And that holistic viewpoint, like it's a big mindset shift. And so even as I talk about this, a lot of times people will try to say like, okay, so if I just do one thing in each domain, then everything will be fixed, right? And it's like, no, that still misses the point. So it's not easy to make that mindset shift, so be patient with yourself, right? I mean, I've been studying this for years now, and there's still so much I have to unpack. Like when I moved to Spain and I finally had an environment that supported not working, because no one here in Spain wants to work. It's just like, you're tired, take a nap. They have a holiday literally like every 2 weeks. I'm like, what's the holiday for? I don't know, some saint. But we don't have to work, so it's great. So even with that, I think it took 9 months of intentionally being like, "I don't need to work right now. I can slow down," before it started to feel more normal to me and to my body. So, be kind and patient with yourself if you are trying to make these shifts because it sounds simple, when I say it, but in practice, it is actually really radical.
Yeah, most simple things aren't necessarily easy, right? Just because it's
Facts.
simple doesn't mean it's so easy, but it's worth it's worth it. It's like worthy work, so to speak. Okay, my last question for you is, what brings you joy and how do you protect it?
Yeah. Honestly, myself. I free myself
Love that
so
answer. I love that answer. We're clipping that. What brings you joy? Me. Me. That's what brings me joy. Full
yeah.
sentence, period.
After all these years of like growth and work, it's just like, man, I'm amazing. I like put a lot of work into myself, a lot of investment, and I love spending time with me. And that also looks different every day. Sometimes that's movement, sometimes that's being in nature, sometimes that's being with my family, sometimes that's doing some sort of like artistic endeavor, drawing or playing an instrument or something. Sometimes it's just like looking out the window and letting my ADHD thoughts go wild and just be like, wow, have you ever thought about like how the theory of reincarnation interplays with like time theories and that like there is no past or future. So how does like I'm just gonna spend time with those thoughts because I like spending time with me and I think that brings me so much joy, but it also has spread onto every aspect of my life because if you want to be in my life, you got to be at least somewhere as entertaining as I am to myself, right? You have to be on my level, and so my friends are top notch, right? And my community is amazing. So, yeah,
I
me.
love that. That is the best answer, and I think you're absolutely right. I hope everyone can get to a place where, like, what brings me joy? Me, myself, and I, the 3 of us together having a time. I used to always jokingly say to people, like, I me and me is a time. It is like me and me time is a moment. Like, I y'all really need to be here when I am in full me time. So I really love that answer. I think, I like me and me as a vibe is like how I've carried myself for the last couple years. And you're absolutely right. It changes your relationship to everyone around you. Like everyone else, people who are grumpy at the grocery store smile at you because you are bringing the me is joy movement, right? Like, and so they're like, "Well, I guess I might as well smile even if I'm miserable the rest of the day." And that's just like a small interaction all the way up to your community, the people you bring closest to you. So I love that, Jaden. That was a great answer. And that might be one of the best responses I've gotten. I've been asking this question a long time.
Oh, well,
And
thank
so,
you.
yeah, yeah. Go back and tell you I brought me extra joy today because that's right. Go ahead and pat that back. So as we close out, You talked about the kind of work you did. You talked about how you do like 3, 6, 9-month health like audits. Tell me a little, just one more plug for that and how people can connect if they want to work with you in general.
Yeah, yeah. So I actually have 2 businesses. One is Tice Consulting and Therapy, where I do consulting and therapy, mostly for health professionals. I also run retreats. Um, and then I have Chaotic Healing, where I do holistic life coaching, personal training, and then my holistic life audits, which are looking at various domains. So the basic plan is the sleep, movement, food, and breath. But you can also add on social, sexual, spiritual, relationship to self. So a lot of different things that you can explore there. And
How can we reach
oh,
you?
how can you reach me? Yes. Oh, one other thing I wanna say that I have that's really exciting, is I have a 30-day twerking for trauma course as we are talking about hip movements and trauma. So for the people who don't know how to twerk, which is a very specific thing, and
It's
peanut
very
butter.
specific. I cannot twerk. I don't know if I should admit that on I think everybody who listens to this podcast is like, "Who is surprised Kelly can't?" But I cannot. So maybe I will be joining my mom is probably listening going, "Oh, no," clutching her pearls. But maybe I shall join the 30 days twerk what did you call it? Twerking for trauma?
Heck yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I have,
I
like, 8 certifications, and then I dropped working for trauma, and everyone's like, "This is what I'm gonna buy from Jayden. This is" I was like, "This is all I had to do the whole time, was just, like, twerk on the internet? Okay." Um, but yeah, it teaches you how to twerk, some basics with dance, and also building the strength and mobility to be able to do it, and then also how to release the trauma from your body. So, there's
l
that,
love
and
that.
and you can find me, usually on Instagram, so at Tice Consulting and Therapy or at chaotic_healers. Um, yeah, I be around.
You do be around, and we will have all of that in the show notes so people can connect with you via your different platforms, and we'll see if y'all do twerking for trauma, make sure to tag us at Black Girl Burnout and show the evolution of your abilities. Um,
Yes.
Jayden, thank you for coming on today. This was a great conversation. Lots of great nuggets and gems, so I appreciate you.
Thanks so much for having me.
What a great conversation. What stayed with me long after we chatted was that healing isn't another achievement to unlock. It's a relationship we build with ourselves over time. So often we're taught to chase transformation through this level of intensity, work harder, push further, fix yourself faster. But with Jaden, they reminded us that its lasting change, it often begins with something much quieter, like listening to your body or honoring your capacity. It's one small practice that helps you come home to yourself. So maybe this week, it's not about overhauling your life. It's simply maybe to just notice. Notice what gives you energy. Notice what drains it. Notice one small habit that helps you feel more connected to yourself. Take a few deep breaths during a meeting or eat one meal without a distraction. Take a short walk. Move your body, or simply give yourself some time to rest. Small choices over and over again is what builds a life that you love. And as Jaden so beautifully said, they have learned to find joy in themselves. And that's an invitation for all of us. What would change if you believe that you were someone worth spending time with? And if the relationship that you were nurturing most this season was the one with yourself? Life is not getting easier, but staying human in the most inhumane times is the work. Well, that, and if all else fails, you can join me and apparently my mom this summer as we're going to go to that twerk class. It's going to happen. I told my mom. She laughed. She doesn't know it, but we're attending. So, as we close out this episode, make room for rest, make room for curiosity, make room for joy. It's where the healing exists. As for Jaden, all of the information to connect with them is going to be in the show notes. And until next time, Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and don't forget, healing doesn't have to be rushed to be real.